Family Focus, a program produced by Family Service Association. I'm your host, Mike Moran. Thank you very much for tuning in to this edition of the program, and welcome to the month of February. We are very happy to introduce two guests, both of whom have been on our program in the past. Most recently, we discussed today's subject back in the summer of 2017. So we're going to get caught up on a very important program that is sponsored by and administered by an agency that is quite indispensable in the community, and that is our partner across the city, Bristol Elder Services, who provide a wide variety of services for the elder population and certainly in support of their families. We have a particular focus today, and I'm very happy to introduce our two guests. Jenna DaCosta is here, and we're going to talk with her, as well as she is to my immediate right, and further down the table is a very dear friend that I've known for many, many years, Cindy Cardoza. Known her in a number of roles, but today you come in a number of roles because you're a board member.
Yes, I am.
Of Bristol Elder Services. Like a lot of the local social service agencies, they're governed by a volunteer board of directors, and you serve in that role. But we're going to talk about your old role in a minute too. Jenny, how long have you been with Bristol?
Just a little over 10 years. I've been with Bristol Elder Services.
And what is your title? Are you dealing primarily with the program that we're going to talk about today, or do you wear a variety of hats at the agency?
Well, most recently I accepted the role of Dementia Friendly Coordinator, so I'm working with the Dementia Friendly Fall River Project. I
really want to get to the very beginning of this. And what prompted Cindy's last appearance on this program was a presentation that she made at the general staff meeting of my agency, Family Service Association, in which she spoke about the Dementia Friendly program and certainly added, as we will today, the personal touch and the personal information that makes her role in this very, very unique. How did it come about? Was this through a grant that Bristol was able to, or did the board and administration just get together and say, there's a need here, we need to fill it? I'm interested in sort of the origin of how the Dementia Friendly program was first pursued.
Well, it was probably back in, I think it was October of 16, that Nancy Munson, who's the CEO at Bristol Elder, spoke to the board about the Dementia Friendly movement. And it's not just Fall River, it's all over the world, in fact, you know, and she brought that to the board, and there was a great deal of interest. They had gotten a small amount of seed money to start a program, and it was confined to Fall River. And so the first thing that happened was they had a summit of interested parties from Fall River to see if there was an interest in developing this program. And they had people speak about dementia in the program, and then they had two people, I was one of them, who spoke about the role of a caregiver. And after that, a number of people signed up to be on the Dementia Friendly Committee. We met, we put together a curriculum, we aimed at businesses so that we could go to businesses and talk about how they could make their business more dementia friendly, easier for people with dementia and their caregivers to utilize the services. And we've been doing that since, I don't know, probably, it was October of 16, I remember that, and we've done over 50, you may know the total number, but it's over 50 presentations in the community.
I just was fascinated by the concept. When I learned about it through your presentation, Cindy, it made so much sense. People, individuals, need to know more about what dementia is, and as importantly, what it is not, because there are many misconceptions, and I hope we have an opportunity to talk about some of those and reiterate those for our audience. And therefore, individuals need to know how to better communicate with those who are experiencing dementia. And there are some techniques which you talk about in your presentation, and there are some, it was very, very, just from a personal standpoint, extremely enlightening as to coming to the realization for myself personally how little I did know. I work in an environment where elder programs are administered all the time. I interact with a lot of elder folks. and yet it was just so interesting. I'm interested just biographically, Jenna, in your case, how did you come to want to work with the elder population? There's a lot of different directions that you could have gone in your career, I suppose, if you wanted to work in the healthcare, social service field, work with children, work with adolescents, whatever. Is there something that made you gravitate toward working with the elder community?
Well, many people in my family were already working with seniors. My mother, for instance, she was a homemaker, going into their homes and helping them with cooking and cleaning and laundry. And
Those people are the salt of the earth. They just provide personal care and do so many great things.
yeah, and so I actually went and got my home health aide certification, and that's where I started my work with the senior population. And after I finished my bachelor's degree, my first job was with Bristol Elder Services.
So you've walked the walk, as well as done the, as you're doing now, sort of the administrative and management side of things. You've been in the trenches, as they say, doing the hands-on
Yes.
work. Cindy, and your background is as a nurse.
Right. I'm a registered nurse. I started my career at the hospital, and then after a year and a half, because I had 2 babies.
And when you say the hospital,
It was Truesdale.
it was Truesdale.
It was Truesdale.
Truesdale
right.
Hospital.
Truesdale Hospital. That dates me for sure. But it was.
I was born in Union Hospital.
Okay, so was I. So I worked at Truesdale Hospital, and then an opportunity came up to join the District Nursing Association as a staff nurse, and I did that. And I worked there I was there for about 10 years, and all that time I was going back to school. I got my bachelor's degree and I got my master's degree, and at one point they needed a supervisor, and I applied for that and got it, and then they eventually needed a new CEO. So I did that, and for the next 20 years I was the CEO of the organization. And
Known as the Visiting
as the
Nurse
visiting nurse, yeah, it was District Nursing, became the Visiting Nurse Association of Southeastern Mass, which is now part of South Coast Health.
You're glossing over that very quickly, but there's a lot to be said for that, because when I first met you many years ago, I had brown hair, and they said, that Cindy, she's the CEO of the Visiting Nurse Association. Holy cow. What kind of numbers did you have in terms of staff?
Oh, we probably at one time, we probably had about 400 staff. We had a lot of home health aides, and we did 500,000 home visits a year. Now agencies don't do that because, unless they're huge, because the insurance companies have cut back on the numbers of visits allowed. But it was a big agency, but it was a wonderful place to work. Because everybody, no matter what their job was, rolled up their sleeves and did whatever they had to do.
I always like to talk to guests about a little bit of their biographical, professional stuff, only because we utilize this program as a way to showcase the expertise in the community that a lot of people may not know about. And to know that the both of you have this background, different though it may be, one from the other, I think instills a sense of confidence in the level of professionalism that we have in the social service and healthcare field in the greater Fall River community. So let's get back to the dementia-friendly program. Take us through some of the additional steps, Jenna, when this program started to formulate. You had to, I would imagine, with that little bit of seed money that Cindy mentioned, devise a plan to go out into the community and spread the word about how business is. I started to talk before about individuals, but you focused on helping businesses become more friendly to the dementia population, which in turn would help their business. It would seem like a reciprocal everybody wins thing. Tell us about how you formulated those plans.
So we decided to start with the places that people visit on a regular basis. The types of businesses that we found were banks, pharmacies, insurance agencies, where these people are going, week to week, and where the employees may be noticing if there's any changes with their customers.
Right.
These are the people that are seeing them on a regular basis who, could be a good, line of defense for them.
Sure. And as with any professional that interacts with another person, if they're given a little bit of information as to what some of the signs are, as you've mentioned, they can be helpful to you in identifying the need for services and perhaps moving forward from there to make sure the person gets the care they need. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's educate our viewers as to what are some of the things that, and Cindy, you've heard this 1,000 times, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's in the minds of those who are watching our program. There certainly is a misconception in terms of people having an understanding of what they might refer to as a senior moment or forgetfulness. You've heard them all.
Right.
And distinguishing that from a more serious indicator of dementia, Alzheimer's, or some other condition.
Right,
We
and
could probably spend an hour talking about that, but let's
Right.
pursue that if we can.
There are so many misconceptions about it, and I think people tell me that all the time, that they forget things. And we say, well, but if you forget something, like the typical, and this is the typical example.
I know
You
what
forgot
I know
where,
where you're going.
right, you forgot where you put your keys. We all do that. But you can retrace your steps to find your keys. Where did I use them last? And you can find them. A person with dementia can't retrace their steps. And additionally, a person with dementia may not even know what the keys are for.
Right.
And that's the real key. When they have the keys and they have no idea that that opens a door or starts a car. So I hear it all the time at every presentation we do, that there's a lot of fear. There are people in the audience, there's always somebody in the audience that's dealing with it, with a relative or
Sure.
a friend, someone. But many people in the audience are living with fear every time they forget something, because there's been so much information about dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And one thing we try to tell people too is that dementia is a symptom, it's not a disease. The disease is, there are many dementias. And so, I mean, Alzheimer's just happens to be one, but everything falls into the catch bin
Sure,
of
sure.
Alzheimer's disease.
And it also, without any, ill intention, becomes the punchline of a lot of jokes.
Right. And it's not funny.
Nobody knows this more than you do. Oh,
Right.
gee, where's my keys?
Right.
I must have Alzheimer's. Maybe we can start by reminding people that that may not be such a kind thing to say.
Right. It's not funny.
Put more
it's-
bluntly, it's not funny.
It's not funny. And if you've lived with it, if you've had any kind of personal experience with it, a joke is a knife in your heart, because it's not funny.
Right, right. For those who know the true and very real, very vivid tragedy of what is involved for those
Right.
who are afflicted. So what do you tell a pharmacist? What do you tell a supermarket manager or a store clerk who says, Jenna, I am interested in learning more about how to make our business and how I personally can become more dementia friendly? Take us through some of the things that you would talk with them about.
So, we talk to them about basically, having good customer service skills to make the everyday transactions, go a little easier. Using someone's name if you know their name, if it's appropriate. Speaking slowly, not shouting, because a person with dementia may not have a hearing problem. It's that they're misunderstanding.
Though the person interacting with the person with dementia might feel as though if they shout, they're
Right.
going to be communicating more effectively.
Right.
You're here to say, not so fast.
Yeah, because shouting could just exacerbate the situation,
Sure.
and make someone more confused or more anxious. Yeah, and just knowing that you can take your time with that individual, because that's really what's needed, is time and patience for them to process what's going on.
I'm trying to visualize those kind of encounters as you're describing them. Cindy, did you want
Right.
to add
Well,
to that?
we also, at the beginning, we tell them clearly this is not an educational program about dementia. We'll tell you some of the signs and symptoms, some of the things that you can look for that you might recognize. And we've also learned from the people that we speak to that, for instance, a beauty parlor, which is a great place to go to talk to, because they see the same clients year after year after year.
Sure.
And they start to notice little changes, and they wonder why. Why is that person reluctant to stand on the black mat that's underneath the chair? because it looks like a hole. And they say, oh, we didn't know that, you know, and we tell them lighting and noise and lots of conversation is confusing.
Can add to the confusion.
Yeah, we talk about things that you can say to people to make them feel a little bit more comfortable, and things that you want to do to keep the situation calm and not have the situation escalate if someone's becoming agitated.
Right.
So I think we're only allowed a half hour because we're doing this in businesses, so
Sure.
we kind of get it condensed to 15, 20 minutes, and then we open it up to the caregiver part of the presentation, and then questions.
Hold those thoughts. We're going to continue in a moment. We're going to take a short time out, and we will return with our guests. How to make a business and how to make a community dementia-friendly. That's our topic. Our guests are from Bristol Elder Services. We will take a short time out and return with more right after this break. Please stay tuned. You're watching Family Focus.
Hi, I'm Carol Nagel, President and CEO of Family Service Association. A lot has changed since the day when our agency began its long journey of providing services to our community. In the beginning, our mission was a simple one: to provide caring and helpful services designed to improve the lives of the individuals and families who live and work here. And while the programs we provide have changed over the years, and the problems facing the community have become more challenging, Family Service is still here 125 years later to answer the call. As we look to the future, we'll continue to work together with our many community partners and to find new and better ways to bring our services to those who need them. Whether it's providing a warm, welcoming learning environment for preschool children, offering professional counseling, or helping elders maintain their good health and independence, Family Service remains committed to the spirit of that very same mission of service that guided us when we took those few steps in 1888. Please visit our website and learn more about our agency, its programs, and our long history of service to the community.
Welcome back to Family Focus. We'll take a moment to thank our good friends at Fall River Community Media, where our program is presented on Channel 95 in the city of Fall River. We record our program at the studios of Fall River Community Media at Bristol Community College, and our program is seen in the communities of Somerset, Swansea, Westport, Dartmouth, New Bedford, and now added to our roster of affiliate stations is public access television in Fairhaven. So we're very, very happy to bring in this program. Many of those communities are served by Bristol Elder Services. Others are served by a similar agency that's based out of New Bedford called Coastline Elderly Services. Our guests are Jenna DaCosta and Cindy Cardoza, and they are talking about the the dementia-friendly program, and I think it's just a fabulous way to help individuals and the businesses that they work for be more accommodating and helpful and friendly and supportive of those who are experiencing dementia. Cindy, you started to talk about something that I think was very important, and when I heard your presentation the first time, I was really taken aback by, you said that, and you sort of alluded to it just now pretty directly, that you might have a home where an area rug exists, and a person with certain categories of dementia may see that as a hole in the floor. And that may seem hard to believe, but that's because those of us who do not suffer from dementia think of it in terms of the reality that we see and deal with. That would be terribly frightening for anyone who was having, I don't know what you'd call it, a hallucination or what, but is that typical of the kinds of things that occur with some people with dementia that we would not know?
I think with some people, I think the hallucinations have come up we don't directly talk about that, but people ask questions about it. Right. And the hallucinations, I've talked to people after the presentation about that, because my husband experienced those, and they're horrific. You know, in his case, they weren't frightening, but in some cases they are. Right. So we talk about the fact that you may see changes in flooring. So in a house, if you're going from tile to hardwood floor or to carpeting, that a person will stop.
They'll be very tentative
because they're afraid that they're going to fall, or they'll try to climb over it, and people don't understand that behavior. But we tell them what it is, and I think it makes it easier for them in their businesses if they see it.
Right. Another thing that I recall you speaking of, small matter, but it's not so small. The markings on restrooms, the
Oh.
signs on restrooms. Could you talk about that a little bit? Because, you know, restaurants try to be so clever.
Right.
You know, they have a nautical motif, so it's the gulls and the buoys.
And the buoys, yeah. And who with dementia knows that? I mean, if you're in a rather advanced state of dementia, number one, bathrooms are a huge problem anyway, and there's a whole other show. But bathrooms are a huge problem. Finding it, locating it is critical, because when people need to use it, they need to use it. If they can't recognize what it is,
Right.
some people couldn't recognize it with a man and a woman's portrait.
Right.
But there's no chance if it's gulls and boys.
Right.
So we mention that, not that the people that we're talking to can necessarily do anything about it, but they can understand it.
Or that there's any ill intent in doing that.
There absolutely is no ill intent. It's just trying to be cute. But, you know, it doesn't work at some, you know, at some level. It doesn't work, so.
You mentioned your husband, and you were his caregiver for many years. There's a lot of words that come to mind as to what I can only imagine that experience has been. But I'm sure that it was, in the context of everything else that it was, an education.
It was an education.
Yeah.
One that I didn't ever expect to have.
Or want to have, certainly.
Or wanted to have. And as a nurse, you know, I had gone into houses where there were people. I never went in because of the dementia, because that's a chronic illness, and you know they
Right.
don't need skilled services. But I'd go in where there was dementia present, and it was either the patient, and we never knew about it. It wasn't on the referral form, or it was a family
A
member.
family member.
So I think it's like a lot of other things. If you could live your life backwards, I would have been better in that situation had I had the experience with my husband first,
Right.
because I learned a lot.
There are people who are watching who probably are saying, I need to learn what you've learned.
Right.
What were some of the
They
first
will.
things that you did learn in that context? I'm sure it was very
Patience?
trial and error, and it was sort of like on-the-job training, if you will.
Yeah, it was. Patience was one, because you, if you're impatient, you try to rush the situation, you're only going to make life a whole lot worse. I learned that I had to do a lot of investigation myself, because the misconceptions are not just in the public, they're in to some extent in the medical community as well. So it's a difficult road. I learned that you should accept help when it's offered, because I was tough with that, and you should seek it.
You're a nurse.
I'm a nurse.
You have the answers. You
Right,
don't-
I could do it all.
Right?
I
You've got the
right.
answers to the
Right.
questions.
But, you know, when
Was
they
there a
tell
little
you
bit of
you
that?
need to help.
I'm exaggerating, maybe. Was there a little bit of that you had to overcome?
Huge. It was huge, and everybody knew it. You know, I could do it myself. I didn't want anybody. I didn't want help from anybody. And, you know, and people would say you're going to burn out, and it could have happened.
Yeah.
It could have happened, but, you know.
Jenna, is there any more effective advocate for this program than the lady sitting to your right? I mean, it's...
You know, Cindy is great. When she comes and does the presentations, you know, I think that people, they listen to, you know, the first half, which is the dementia and the tips, but they really connect with Cindy's or the other caregivers when we have other caregivers present. They connect with their portion.
Who are the other people? I mean, in terms of what are their roles? Are they board members, as Cindy is? Are they volunteers? Are they staff at Bristol? Who are the people that you've sort of recruited to be a part of this program? And how many are there altogether, and how extensive?
The coalition, I believe, has over 30 members right now. And it's just volunteers, different stakeholders from around the community.
And we don't have your website up on the screen, but it's very easy to Google Bristol Elder Services, and it will take you straight there to learn not only about this project, presumably, but so many of the other services that Bristol Elder Services provides to the community. You know, and we had our little public service announcement with Carol saying, you know, we're grateful to the community and our community partners. Well, you know, we work in concert with Bristol Elder Services around any of a number of things in terms of sharing referrals and trying to link people with the right services if they need an adult day health program, if they need guardianship, if they need an adult family care home, and all of the above. Cindy, how long are you going to continue with this project? Is it sort of never ending in the sense that there's always more people to meet and more people to help educate?
I think it is, and you know, I'm committed to stay with it as long as they need me to do that. I try to be as responsive as I can be, and now we have a new thing to tell people about, which is Purple Table reservations.
Ooh, tell us about that.
And Purple Table reservations is a reservation system with restaurants for people with dementia, autism.
PTSD, hearing loss, vision loss,
Right.
any cognitive or emotional disability.
Tell us how that works.
Well, we have two. The program was founded by a woman from Acton, Massachusetts, Jen Apizaitis, who owns a restaurant and had dementia in her family. And she came up with the concept of having an ability to have some people with dementia go into a restaurant when it's quiet time, educate the servers so that they know how to deal one-on-one with people and their families. And then once she was successful at doing it, she spread the concept, and Nancy brought it to the committee. We thought it was a great idea, and then we went out and we started trying to recruit restaurants. There were only, I don't know how many now, but there were 13 restaurants in the country.
I think it's 16 right now.
And we have 2, soon to have 3.
2 in Bristol
Pretty
County.
remarkable.
Yeah.
When there's only 16 in the
Is
country.
there literally a purple tablecloth?
There's no purple table, but you know, if you call in and say you want a purple table reservation, the 2 that are active right now are Maraffa's in Somerset and White's Family Restaurant in Westport, and it's the Galley
The
Grill.
Galley Grill.
Galley Grill?
And members of the
By the way,
coalition.
try the lobster roll when you're there. Not that we do commercials on this program.
Some
just
members
as an
of the
aside.
committee went out to recruit the restaurants, and I'll have to say Nick Raffer at Maraffa's jumped right on it. He was the early adopter. He thought it was a great idea. And then we went out and got White's to do the same. And now Jenna, you know, is in charge of a grant to promote it in the city, and we'd love to do that.
Yeah, we received a grant from the United Way of Greater Fall River that will allow us to provide dining out opportunities for people who would benefit from a Purple Table reservation.
That's great. That's great.
And-
And while initially you might think, well, that would be difficult for restaurants to do. If it ultimately results in expanding their clientele to people who might normally say, we can't really do a restaurant, you know, and they may stay away because of the challenges that presents.
It's huge.
It's kind of an everybody wins thing. Jenna, Cindy, this is so great to have an opportunity to share your story and your program with our viewers. It's kind of what we do here, and we're so proud of what you're doing, and we hope that you continue with this another time that Family Service Association can get on board and do anything that will help spread the word about the dementia-friendly community concept. We would be more than happy to do it. Thank you so much for being with us. And we thank you for watching our program. We'll say thank you, and please tune in again next month for another edition of Family Focus. Until that time, we'll say so long. Bye-bye.